Hello there. Have you ever thought about creating generational wealth? Is this something that's been on your mind and you just don't know how to do it? Probably you've started on a business, it has failed, and started on another business, it has failed, and so forth and so forth. In this video, I'm going to talk about how you can create a generational wealth, or things that you need to look out for in order for you to create generational wealth. So here's the thing. When I was growing up, I used to listen to hip hop a lot. And most of the songs that I used to listen to, they were talking about hustling. And to such an extent that it used to be celebrated. Hustling is something that used to be celebrated. But the question is this something that is good or bad? The problem is, with most of those artists that I was listening to, they died poor, some of them, and some of them are even broke as of today. The only artists that have made it up to now are those that got into business. But most of them that did hustles, they are broke and they're struggling as of today. You can research on it, especially artists that were in hip-hop maybe in the 90s and early 2000s. You can see most of them, they're struggling right now. But is hustling something bad? Is it something that is sustainable? I leave you with that question. Is hustling sustainable? Right? If you have anything to say, please just put comments in the comment section there. I would love to hear what you think about hustling. But anyway, I've got another story that probably I need to share with you, especially about hustling. I remember there's this other guy that I used to know. The guy used to do hustles and he was doing pretty well. He bought a car and by that time he had started building on a house. So that means he was doing fairly well, especially for someone who was doing the kind of hustles that he was into. But then the problem came when he got sick. And when he got sick, unfortunately, the sickness could not be diagnosed. The problem could not be diagnosed early. So he went on for more than 2 months whilst he was still visiting doctors, one doctor after the other, and he was doing tests. And during that period, there are two things that you must know were happening. First of all, he was forking out money. So that means he had money that was coming out of his pocket, and during that period he had no income, he had no money that was getting into his pocket. So it was a period whereby he was just forking out money and nothing was coming in. But then by the time they diagnosed that he had cancer, it was after some period, and he had already taken out a lot of money, like taking to the doctors and paying off consultations and doing all those tests. Then it so happened that when they tried to cure the sickness, they only realized that the only place where he could get cured, where he could get treatment from, was in India. So he had to go to India from Zimbabwe. But then the problem came when he didn't have that money. He had already sold his car in the process because he was trying to get money for him to go see doctors. But now, when money was now required for him to go to India for the treatment, he couldn't raise the money, the amount of money that was needed. So now, because as a result, his condition got worse until he passed away. It's so sad, but there's a lesson that I also learned when it comes to hustles. So the lesson being, when this guy was away, he couldn't make money, which is what a lot of people are into right now. A lot of people think they're in business, yet they're only hustling. Now, with hustling, you cannot create generational wealth, because when you're hustling, as most of these hustles, if you look at it, 93% of hustling, if not more than that, you discover that it only generates money when you are there. As long as you are not there, there's no income that is generated. So you need now to seriously consider whether you are in hustling, or you're a hustler, or you are in business. So if you thought you're in business, there are key indicators that you need to look into, that you need to look at, that will show you that you are still a hustler. And as long as it's a hustle, as long as you're a hustler, as long as you're hustling, you are not running a business, and it is difficult for you now to create generational wealth. Now, that's the problem with hustling. So now, how do you know that you are hustling? There are three things that I can share with you that will show you that you are hustling. And number one is, the number one thing that you need to know that you are hustling is, when you're not there, there's no income that is generated. So revenue is only generated in your presence. So revenue is only generated in your presence. It's only generated in your presence. That's number one. As long as you're not there, then there's no revenue that is generated. As long as you're running a business whereby this is true, this statement is true, that you only generate revenue when you're there, then you're running a hustle. It's not yet a business. And speaking of generating revenue in your presence, of course, some do tenders. And the problem with tenders, in most cases, it does not build generational wealth. Most people that are into tenders, they don't build generational wealth. And according to statistics, you'll find that almost 97% of tenderpreneurs, or people that are into tenders, that run their business through tenders, they have not built a sustainable business. Because in most cases, it requires them to be there. It requires their connections and so forth and so forth. And then number two, you should know that you are running a business if it does not have repeatable processes. So a business should have repeatable processes to generate, whether be it income or to whatever it is. It has to have a repeatable process. And these repeatable processes should be processes that can be done by anyone else who can come in place of whosoever was doing those processes. In other words, there are certain qualifications, of course, that are required for some people, for some processes to be done. So as long as someone is qualified for that, is qualified to perform that task, then the processes should be repeatable, and they should be able to do the processes. And then the other thing is, as long as you're the one who can only do these processes, then you should understand that you're running a hustle. It's not a business. And then number three, as long as you are avoiding compliance officers, so as long as you're avoiding compliance officers, then you should know that you're running a hustle. You should not, as long as you're avoiding compliance officers, then you should know that you are running a hustle. In other words, the reasons why you may avoid compliance officers could be because the business is illegal, or it could be the business is not yet legitimate. So that's the reason why you can run away or you can avoid compliance officers. But if you are running a business, chances of you avoiding compliance officers are very slim. They are next to none, except for in maybe one or two cases whereby you are still trying to comply, or you're in the process of complying with laws and rules and regulations. So once you know that you are running a hustle, then you can now seek to do a business. And when you do a business, that's how you can create generational wealth. And I have other videos in which I speak about businesses, in which I speak about how to run a sustainable business, because hustles they have no guarantee of continuity. Most hustles do not have a guarantee of continuity. it ends with an individual, with a certain individual. So you need to avoid that if you are thinking of building generational wealth.